everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel. At the end of last year is kind of when I started getting back into reading, but this year is kind of when I actually started reading a lot, and so because of that I also ended up buying a lot of books. And so today I'm going to be sharing with you guys all the books that I bought so far this year. Starting off, we have one of the books that I'm currently reading, which is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. And so I got this in the regular Penguin Classics edition, which is also the newer version with the white band and the little line between it. It's kind of ugly, not gonna lie. I don't know why they decided to change it from. I'll put a picture of the old version here, and then if you guys compare to the new one, I understand why they did it, but I feel like nobody was complaining about the old design, so I don't know why they felt the need to change it. The reason I wanted to get this is because if you watched my summer TBR video, then you know that I want to read Anna Karenina this summer, but I didn't want to just jump straight into an 800-page classic, so I decided to go with this one first because from what I've heard it's more accessible and it's also a lot shorter, so I figured it would be a better choice to start off with, and then once I get back into reading classics, then I can try Anna Karenina. Currently I'm on chapter 3, well I'm about to start chapter 3, and I'm enjoying it so far. I've underlined a lot of different things, which is very new to me because I usually don't write. I think this is the second book that I've written in, so far I'm really enjoying it, and it has the potential to be a 5 stars, but we'll see. So the next book that I got is Our Violent Ends by Chloe Gong, and this is the second book in the These Violent Delights duology. And so if you're unfamiliar, These Violent Delights is essentially a Romeo and Juliet retelling set in 1920s Shanghai. And so essentially the two main characters, Romeo and Juliet, are part of rival gangs, but they have to team up in order to solve the mystery of this thingy that's killing off members of their gangs. Romeo and Juliet, who are the main characters, also have a lovers to enemies to lovers relationship going on, which is one of my favorite tropes, so I love that. Obviously, I read the first book as an ebook that I borrowed from my library back in January, and I gave it 4.25 stars or 4.5 stars. I've heard mixed things about Our Violent Ends in comparison to These Violent Delights, but I feel I personally would probably really like it, mainly because one of the YouTube booktubers that I watch, Miriam, I think her channel name has 3 R's or something, but she had a similar experience with These Violent Delights to me, and then she really liked Our Violent Ends, and she said it was a lot better, and I think she gave it 5 stars, and so I'm pretty hopeful for this, and it's definitely one of my 5-star predictions. Also, the distractor for this is pretty cool. There's no So the next 3 books I got from Thrift Books, which is an online used bookstore, and the first one is one that I also mentioned in my summer TBR, and that is This Changes Everything: Capitalism versus Climate by Naomi Klein. It is a very thick book, but essentially this is talking about the relationship between capitalism and how it's related to, and how it causes climate change, and how you can't really have capitalism while also bettering the climate, I think, is the main message behind it, or something like that. Like I mentioned in my summer TBR, I wanted to get this book because I wanted to do more reading about just climate change in general, and also different environmental issues, because I feel as someone who has been into environmentalism since I was really young, I feel I haven't actually read that much literature on it, and so I wanted to change that, and I figured this would be a good start, even though it's really chunky, because it is directly tied into what I'm studying at school and what I want to do in the future, so I figured this would be a good choice. So this next book, I feel I haven't really heard people or anyone that I follow online talk about it, except for maybe the Book Castle. I'm not sure if that's their channel name, but I found this book on Goodreads. I don't know how I found it, probably one to recommend it, and I found it and I thought it was really interesting, and that is The Incarnations by Susan Barker. Okay, the reason I got this from a used bookstore is because this is a lesser known book. It's hard to find, and the version on Amazon is it's not ugly, right? But I really wanted this dragon design. I also watched a video of them designing this illustration, which I forgot who does it. Does it say? Does it say? I do not know. Yeah, I can't find it. But also this illustration on the end papers is insane, honestly. But yeah, so essentially what this book is about is there's this taxi driver Wong, who drives taxis, obviously, but one day he flips down the visor of his taxi, and then this letter falls out, right, claiming that it's from his quote-unquote soulmate, right? But keep in mind, this man is married, and the letter is not from his wife, so it's a little weird. essentially what this letter is claiming is that they are his soulmate and that they've like met them in previous lives, and then throughout the book he kind of receives more of these letters that kind of talk about these past lives that he has supposedly had with this soulmate. Yeah, so it says that like Driver Wong becomes convinced that someone is watching him, someone who claims to have known him for centuries, and with each letter, Wong feels the watcher in these shadows growing closer. It also apparently weaves in kind of like Chinese folklore, history, and also literary classics, which I am pretty interested in learning more about, so although I'm pretty excited for this book and hopefully I get to it soon. The last book that I got from Thrift Books is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and I wanted to get this edition specifically just because I didn't really this is like an unpopular opinion, but I didn't really like the cover with the bee on it because I don't really like bees. Sorry, like I mean I understand they're important from the ecosystem or whatever, but I just don't like bees. So yes, and I think this one is like kind of hard to come by, and like as you can tell, this is a library copy, but honestly it's in like pretty good condition. So yeah, I might take the plastic covering off just because like this barcode thing is kind of ugly, but also I don't want it to get damaged, so we'll see. But yeah, also these end papers are also really nice. So the reason I wanted to get this is because I haven't really been reading since like the 8th grade, like for enjoyment or whatever, but I remember in grade 10 I had like this book report type project, and so my teacher, he brought in a bunch of like YA books and let us pick one or whatever if we needed one, and so I ended up picking The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, and I really enjoyed the book, and I think I gave it like 5 stars back then. I don't know if I would still give it 5 stars, but I really enjoyed it, and so I figured I would really like this one as well. I'm gonna read you the blurb here. Far beneath the surface of the earth, upon the shores of the starless sea, there is a labyrinthine collection of tunnels and rooms filled with stories. The entryways that lead to the sanctuary are often hidden, sometimes on forest floors, sometimes in private homes, sometimes in plain sight. But those who seek will find. Their doors have been waiting for them. I'm mainly reading it because it's Erin Morgenstern, and I just know that's going to be really well written, very beautiful lyrical language, very atmospheric, and yeah. The next book that I got is also in my summer TBR, and that is Know My Name by Chanel Miller. And so if you don't know, Chanel Miller is actually the Emily Doe in the Stanford sexual assault case a few years back, and so this is kind of like her memoir. Oh my god. Anyways, sorry if you can hear the vacuum in the background. So essentially, I'm just going to read the back because I don't know how else to put this, but her story of trauma and transcendence illuminates a culture biased to protect perpetrators, inducting a criminal justice system designed to fail the most vulnerable, and ultimately shining with the courage required to move through suffering and live a full and beautiful life. Know My Name will forever transform the way we think about sexual assault, challenging our beliefs about what is acceptable, and speaking truth to the tumultuous reality of healing. So yeah, I've literally heard nothing but good things about this, so I think this will be a pretty good read. So the next book that I got is actually my first 5-star read of 2022, and that is The Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake. So this is actually the first book that I annotated, kind of like I tabbed the side a bit. So as you can tell, this is like the this is the traditionally published version, and you know, I'm really glad that I actually got this one because I kind of prefer this cover over the self-published version, which the same cannot be said for Alone With You in the Ether. I'm really kicking myself for not getting the self-published version because I literally was thinking about getting it like literally a few days before she announced that it was going to be traditionally published, and I'm so mad at myself. But yeah. Anyways, also can we take a look at this naked hardcover? It's like it's this embossing and like the foiling is really cool. Like, what this book is about is essentially, so as we all know, the Library of Alexandria kind of burnt down a long time ago, but in this book it said that the Library of Alexandria actually didn't burn down, or like it was done in order to protect the kind of like the contents of the library so that it wouldn't be misused. And so essentially there's this secret society called the Alexandrian Society that has been tasked with protecting this library, and so every decade or so 6 powerful magicians are recruited, and so these 6 magicians are the only ones who have access to it. But it's actually not 6, but actually only 5, because one of them at the end of their first year is going to be eliminated, and the one who gets eliminated is chosen by the other 5 members, I guess. I honestly like this a lot more than I expected to. The only critique that I have about this is that I feel like we really didn't get that much time with Reina, so hopefully in the next few books we get to learn more about her. But I really like this book, and I would definitely recommend it if you're thinking of reading it. So these next 3 books are actually from an Illumicrate special edition box that they did, I think like last year, but then they had like a bunch of extra boxes, and so they opened like the waitlist for it, and then I signed up, and I didn't think I would get it, but I ended up getting it. Yeah, I signed up before I read it. I read the first one and I liked it, and then I got the email that said that I was off the waitlist for the special edition box, so I was really excited about that. And that is the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Leigh. And so these are the 3 books right here. So we have Jade City, I almost dropped one of them, Jade War, and Jade Legacy. And as you can tell, they get progressively thicker. When I first saw these, I thought they had the same design on the cover, and they kind of do, but it's actually not. Like, the weapon on the side is different for each book. But yeah, and it corresponds with the weapon on the stenciled edge, which is really nice. So when I first saw the Greenbone Saga, I actually didn't really like the original covers, which is why I wanted to get this special edition, because I figured I would really like this series. The original covers ended up growing on me, and now I kind of wish I had the paperback versions. I was thinking of annotating these, and I don't really want to annotate stencil edges, you know, but I also don't want to have multiple copies. I mean, Mel Reese has these, and she annotated it, and it doesn't look too bad, so I might annotate these. Or I might just do the thing where you like you put the tab, but you just like don't have the tab sticking out. So if you haven't heard of the Greenbone Saga, it's essentially about the Kaul family, K-A-U-L, who are one of the 2 main crime syndicates that kind of control and also take care of the people on the island of Kekon. And so these 2 main crime syndicates are also Greenbone families. And so essentially what Greenbones are, they are people who are able to wield jade. In this story, it's kind of like a magical stone that enhances like your senses, like your speed, your agility, your reflexes and stuff like that. But only certain people are able to wield it properly, and to wield it you also need like special training and stuff like that. It's not necessarily intergenerational, because I think it focuses on the same characters throughout the trilogy, but it does follow them over a long period of time, and there are apparently a lot of time jumps. It is kind of like set over their lifetimes as they get older, as they learn more and stuff like that. So my poor attempts at explaining it to you seem interesting, then I would definitely recommend it, because I don't think I've seen anyone who doesn't like the series. Moving on to some more Illumicrate editions. First up, we have the let's say April book. And this is literally the entire reason why I subscribed to Illumicrate in the first place, because I really wanted this edition of the book. And that is, sorry, let me just get it out of the bag because I haven't read it yet. But that is Portrait of a Thief by Grace D. Lee. And so this is my most anticipated release of 2022. This is also my summer 2022 TBR. So if you have watched that, you know the struggle that I had to go through to get this book, to get a copy of this book. Not this one specifically. So I signed up for the Illumicrate waitlist, right? Because I wanted the special edition, but I didn't get off the waitlist for April boxes, and so I ended up pre-ordering it from Chapters. But then when I got it in the mail, it was like, I'll insert pictures, but it was like misprinted, and so I sent it back. Oh, I didn't send it back. So I asked for a replacement, and they were really nice about it. Like, they immediately sent me a replacement, right? But then that one was also misprinted, and the spine was also like broken. And so after that, I also ended up getting off the waitlist for May, and then they had a couple April boxes left over, and so I ended up getting that, and then I returned the other 2 and got a refund. So I filmed the unboxings of these 2 boxes, April and May, but I'm probably going to include that in my summer diaries vlog, which is not going to come out until like end of August or September. So I'll just give you guys like, I'll kind of just show you guys what the covers look like. And so it has this really nice like foiling detail on the front with the dragon print, which is amazing. It's so pretty. And then also it has art by I forgot their name, but this is the same artist that does the art for Olivie Blake's self-published book, and also the Alice 6. So essentially what this book is about is our main character, Will Chen, is an art history student, and so he also works at like an art museum, I think. I'm not sure. But anyways, he gets approached by this mysterious benefactor who offers him a lot of money in exchange for him to steal back a bunch of artifacts and paintings that were originally stolen from China by the West. So he's a senior at Harvard, and so he has access to these kinds of things, and so he ends up taking the deal, and he puts together like this gang of like other Chinese American Ivy League students. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're all in Ivy Leagues or really good schools. He puts together this gang, and they kind of plot to steal back all the the requested art. And so it kind of talks about art history and also like colonialism, and how like a lot of the pieces in Western museums are stolen from their original countries, and how even today they still haven't been returned. I remember when I first read this concept, I thought it was really interesting, so I can't wait to read this in the next few weeks. So the next book that I have is the May Illuminated book, and that is Book of Night by Holly Black. And so I'll put a picture of like the original cover here, and then this is the special edition. And so instead of being like dark turquoise or whatever, it's like white, and then inside has this really nice embossing. It's kind of sticky, but yeah. And then it also has cool end papers, and it's also signed. The Portrait of a Thief is also signed. I forgot to say that, but yeah. Oh, there's like this one has an author letter and it's signed. So essentially, Book of Night is Holly Black's adult debut. So Holly Black is the author of the Cruel Prince trilogy. Essentially, this book is about Charlie, who is a low-level con artist, and so she has the ability to manipulate shadows in this world. It's kind of like a world of shadow magic where different people have different abilities to manipulate shadows. Charlie is working as a bartender right now, and she's trying to like leave her criminal life behind, but then she ends up, but when a terrible figure from her past returns, Charlie's present life is thrown into chaos, and her future seems at best unclear, and at worst non-existent. Yeah, so some people say that this is dark academia, but I mean, like, from the synopsis, I don't really get that, because it's like, she's not at school, so how can it be dark academia? If you know what I mean? Like, I was actually originally considering selling this book, because I haven't read the Cruel Prince trilogy, so I don't really have like an attachment to Holly Black, and also from pretty much everyone that I've seen online who has read this, hasn't really liked it, or they've only given it like 3 or 4 stars. But I just recently watched, how do you say her name? Like Leah Crumpton, I think is how you say her name. But yeah, I watched her wrap up, and I think she gave this like 4 stars, and she really liked it. So I'm gonna give it a chance, and if I still don't like it, then I'm probably gonna sell it, because I need money. The next book that I got is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. This is the second book in the Six of Crows duology, which apparently is gonna get a 3rd book. Apparently, I don't know, but yeah. I'm pretty sure I read Six of Crows when I was in like elementary school, so like grade 7 or 8, but I don't really remember what happens. So I did a rereading it this past, I think in April, and I really liked it. I gave it like 4.75 stars. I'm planning on reading this probably in like December or something, because I want to annotate this, or at least like tab it, because I think this is like a book that I will really enjoy, just because I really like the characters. Yeah, I'm not going to explain the plot of Six of Crows, because you've probably already heard of it before, so I feel like it's kind of redundant. I would definitely recommend reading it if you're hesitant about it, because it's so many people's favorite books, and also one that I really enjoyed. The next book that I got is Kaikeyi by Vaishnavi Patel. I think I mispronounced this like in my Asian readathon book. But yeah, if you watch that, this is one of the books I read. This is also the first book that I made written annotations in. This is pretty good. I also give this book a 4.75 out of 5 stars. And so this is essentially a feminist mythological retelling of the ancient Indian epic called the Ramayana. And so it's about Kaikeyi, the title character, who is kind of like a minor character in the original epic. She's like this quote-unquote evil stepmother who banishes the main character, Rama, from the kingdom for like 14 years so that she can put her son on the throne. Or at least that's what it's implied in the original epic, but this retelling obviously tells the story of Kaikeyi, her story growing up, how she got married to this king in the first place, stuff like why she banished Rama. And yeah, it was really good. I think if you're into feminist mythological retellings, like Circe or Ariadne, then I would definitely recommend this. I haven't read those two, but they're both on my TBR, So these next 2 books I actually just got really recently. I think they came in like yesterday or the day before. But the first book is The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han, which is kind of like a classic YA contemporary romance series. Essentially, it's about this girl named Belly, and she and her family, every summer, they go off to live with her mother's best friend's family. And so her mother's best friend has 2 sons. And so she has always had a crush on one of them, and then this summer she ends up like starting to like the other brother, and then she's also like, apparently there's like another love interest, but like from what I've heard, I think the main 2 love interests are probably the 2 brothers. Since summer break has started, I've been trying to read more fantasy and like classics, because they kind of require a little bit more brain power that I'm not always able to spare during the academic term. But I've recently just been craving like a light summer romance, and so that's why I decided to go with this. I was originally going to get People Who Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, but that one's like an adult romance, and like I feel like there are a lot of YA books that I want to read, but I'm like kind of getting older, and so I kind of want to read as much YA books as I can before I quote unquote grow out of it. I mean, like obviously you can read YA books when you're an adult, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I feel like I would just enjoy them more if I read them while I was still quote-unquote a young adult, so that's why I decided to pick this one up instead. The last book that I'm going to be sharing with you guys today in this haul is Masters of Death by Olivie Blake. And so the reason I got this is because Olivie Blake actually recently got a lot of her books acquired by Tor to be traditionally published, you know, like Alone with You in the Ether, Masters of Death, One for My Enemy. And so I wanted to get like one of the self-published versions before they go out of print, and I really wanted One for My Enemy because that's the one I actually wanted to read, but it was sold out. And I'm so mad because I was actually considering buying that and Alone with You in the Ether like literally a couple days before she announced it, and so I'm so mad that I didn't get it. You know, usually I'm glad, because usually when I like I'm thinking of buying books, I'm like, oh, you know, like I'll think about it first for a couple of times, and usually that's fine, but this time is really not working out in my favor. Like also with A Diary of Blood, like I was thinking of getting it, and then it got traditionally published, and that one's like not as bad because like the new cover is not bad, like but I still prefer the old cover, right? But I don't want to pay like $80 for a book, you know, so, or like upwards of $100, which is what people are selling like Alone with You in the Ether for. So anyways, back to this. So in terms of what this book is about, this book is about a real estate agent. Only the real estate agent is a vampire, and the house she has to sell is haunted. And the ghost haunting the house has been murdered, and he has no idea how he died. This book is also about a medium, and though this particular medium is definitely a shameless fraud, he isn't entirely without his uses, seeing as he's actually the godson of death. I originally wasn't really interested in this book, but I still got it because I wanted the self-published version of her books. I mean, I really liked Olivie Blake's writing. I mean, I literally gave the Atlas 6 like 5 stars, so yeah, I'm pretty sure this will be at least a 3.5, if not higher. So those are all the books that I wanted to share with you guys today. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of them, if you liked them, if you didn't like them, which ones are on your personal wish list. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a nice day. Bye!